Next, we look back at the show that brought British Asian comedy into the mainstream.
I beg your pardon? Oh, my God.
The going out for an English sketch, I mean, it's going to go down in comedy history, isn't it?
What's the blandest thing on the menu?
British comedy has a troubled past when it comes to issues of race.
I'm coming here to be learning the English.
You're early.
Oh, no, I'm Ali.
Whether situation comedy or sketch shows, for decades, ethnic minorities were either conspicuous by their absence or the butt of the joke.
Until we're wasting time. Now, come on, Clegg.
I know you're tight. You've only been in the country 5 minutes and you're driving your own motor.
But by the mid-90s, things were beginning to change. Multiculturalism was the new buzzword, and there was a recognition that new and more diverse voices needed to be heard.
No, actually, Auntie Jean, I'm a trainee plumber and I like motorbikes.
Shut up! You want them to think you're a lesbian with a moustache and hobnail boots?
I think you had the BBC and you had television companies trying to give ethnic talent a chance, and I think that's a good sign. It's a good sign of a truly multicultural society.
Now, what else we got, sir? This here's a Dhaka dal. Ron Madras, and here some basmati rice.
Good old-fashioned Hindi food.
Hindu. Hindi is the language. Tuck in.
If you're doing kind of multicultural, race-based humour, we all should be laughing together, and we should be laughing at the nuances and the diversity. Let's laugh at the things that, you know, we might find difficult to laugh at.
People wanting a beer with that, won't you, mate? We've got Cobra or Kingfisher. No alcohol. Oh my God, you don't drink. You're a Muslim. I mean, praise be to Allah, you're a Muslim.
Wrong food.
After decades of being deemed politically incorrect, in 1998, race was firmly back on the agenda as a source of comedy.
There's nothing English about the word veranda. It's an Indian word.
Is it?
Of course.
The moment was right for Britain's first all-Asian sketch show to hit our screens.
You're always banging on how everything comes from India when it doesn't. It's all bullshit.
Also Indian.
In terms of cultural changes in this country, I think Goodness Gracious Me was a complete game changer.
You knew about Asian families were off EastEnders and arranged marriages and strict parents.
I hardly ever go out.
Don't worry. Soon we will be dead. Then you can go out every night with your friends to your pubs and your clubs.
Goodness Gracious Me showed everyone the warmth, the wit, the idiosyncrasies of Asian families and Asian life.
Written by Sanjeev Bhaskar and Meera Syal, Goodness Gracious Me drew heavily upon British Asian.
It was just keep your head down, work hard, don't attract attention, and just try and fit in. Our generation were much more confident to say, we're not ashamed of the differences, and we don't see a problem in combining them with this other British sense of identity. That voice kind of emerged in the mid to late 90s.
So how come every Friday night we end up here, eh?
Because that's what you do, Anna. You go out, you get tanked up on lassies, and you go for an English.
We found how you could turn things on their head. And you say, well, what would it be like if a bunch of Indians went out for an English then?
Hey, hasn't he got lovely pale skin here? It's really nice and pasty, no?
Yeah, but you know what they say about white men, don't you?
All right.
The going out for an English sketch, I mean, it's going to go down in comedy history, isn't it?
What's the blandest thing on the menu?
Scampi is particularly bland.
I'll have that. And bring a fork and knife.
All those jokes that we all had about being considered exotic turned on their heads.
Come on in.
As well as one-off sketches, the series had a host of regular characters. Most famously, the middle-class families, the Coopers and the Robinsons.
Hey, at last I get to meet the lovely Mrs. Kapoor.
Pronounced Cooper.
The Coopers, I think that speaks to anybody who comes from any kind of immigrant background.
So how's that son of yours doing? Subhash, isn't it?
Sebastian.
One of my uncles, their name is Virdi, but they would call themselves Verdies.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, my God.
Mr. Cooper just couldn't help being Indian. He was trying to put it away, but the Indianness would just pop up his head and say, God, I can't help it. I can't help being Indian. What can I do?
It wasn't long before the songs
And your uncle says, do your studies. We say, uncle, kiss my cheek.
catchphrases
Check, please.
and characters of Goodness Gracious Me became ingrained in the British psyche.
Yes. But how big is his danda?
What I loved about this was an entirely Indian cast, and they basically just appealed to everyone. And why? Because it was funny.
Goodness Gracious Me ran for 3 more series and spawned new shows with similar cast and writers. Perhaps its biggest legacy is a young generation of British Asian comics who are no longer on the fringes of mainstream comedy.
We're now seeing the next generation coming through, and a lot of them will say, oh, I grew up watching that show.